around around the community, and then how artists, visual artists in particular, play an integral role in giving back to our community and building those spaces. So for one, I'll just introduce myself to those that don't know. My name is David Mays. I've been interested in or affiliated with the arts probably for 2, 3 decades. I grew up around artists, didn't have an the affinity or appreciation that I do for the arts now up until I would say probably like right before the pandemic. It blossomed into a thing that just grew beyond my wildest expectations and dreams. I've loved being in this space and I'm in a constant state of learning. I curate. I am co-founder of a business called Black Walls Collective, which specializes in giving spaces in otherwise unequitable places for people of color, whether that be creatives, curators, collectors alike, and we kind of bridge the gap between the community and emerging artists. I also own a company called Circuit Detroit, where we host salon exhibitions and shows, where we highlight and focus on individual artists and their practices and connecting them with aspiring collectors. So yeah, this will be one of the first times getting the opportunity to be in an intimate space like this and have conversations with 3 premier artists from the city of Detroit. So I look forward to kind of delving into some open-ended discussions with you guys about your practices, what you guys have in the pipeline, and introducing you to the community for those that do already know your work, and for those that are interested in learning about what you guys do and how you guys are giving back to the community through your practices. So without further ado, I'm going to give India the opportunity for one to introduce yourself to TSOP and those that are here watching, and let people know what you've been doing and what you have up on your agenda. So.
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm India Solomon, abstract visual artist from the west side of Detroit, but connection globally. I operate a design practice called Fluid Spaces, and that is sort of the container for my art, but it's also the kind of public facing thing that allows other people and other artists to participate and really see something that they like. It exists, but it moves, it is really informed by everybody who steps into the space. So I'm in the physical space of Fluid Spaces right now, but the whole ethos behind Fluid Spaces is that we need our environments to work for us. And it's easy to get stuck in kind of these very hard to find ways of how you use space or what spaces are. But really, and as we've seen through COVID and everything that's been happening, like our homes had to transform into everything. They had to transform into our office, where we gather. So I'm really, really passionate about pushing this concept of like changing the way we define space so that everyone can participate, and so that people kind of have the space that they can grow and be most inspired. And that's what Fluid Spaces is for me. So that feeds into kind of the actual design of my work, in that it is what you make it. Like, I don't draw anything real or concrete. It's very much through feeling, through emotion, through energy. And so I feel really, really happy about the fact that people can look at my work and see something in themselves. And it's kind of like, no matter what piece it is, there's this universal appeal. And even if people aren't like, they don't love it, they're very interested in what's going on. And so I love my work as a center point of conversation, and as a center point of getting to know someone in a way that's really deep and feeling, like getting into the feelings of everything. So that's me. It's a little bit about my practice and where I'm from.
Wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate that. Andy, since you mentioned you're in Fluid Spaces currently, I don't know if you actually have, if it's still by appointment only, or if you want to shout out where you're located or when and how people can access where you are.
Yeah, it is appointment only right now. It's event-based right now. It's very much a collaboration space. So even people who are interested in like doing a collab or working on a custom project, hit me up, and it's appointment-based. Our events are promoted on fluid.spaces on Instagram. And then the website is livefluidspaces.com. And we'll just be reaching out a lot more, but it's very much a big experiment right now. So yeah.
Right. Well, congratulations, and thank you for being here and participating. Tony, I'll give you the opportunity next to kind of introduce yourself to our community and the people here watching in Detroit and around the country, man. So.
How you guys doing? Can you hear me? All right.
Yep.
My name is Tony Whlgn, born and raised from the east side of Detroit. I have a decade or over a decade in my practice, um, but I have been doing art my entire life. I took those practices and those experiences and created an entrepreneurial career created around creative entrepreneurship and uplifting my friends in my community. I am a builder of spaces currently. I'm sitting in our creative hub, which is located on the east side of Detroit in its Island View neighborhood. Currently, our efforts here are to build around fashion, artist development, uh, studio building, and our youth program, which is called Leaders Amongst Leaders, which was formed in 2019, just before the pandemic. With that, we work to focus on uplifting and sustaining the youth with information and resources around creative entrepreneurship and what sustainability looks like financially for them. With that, we've had this space for about 3 years. We've had a couple of youth to come out of this space, do great things, turn into businessmen, graduate high school, and a number of things. But mostly as a fine artist, my practice is based in mural arts, design, fashion, and I would say some 3D elements. I'm working towards it since we're moving towards the future. But just
Might
really,
expand on that a little bit when we get into it too.
yeah, we just really adapting. As the times go, there's been professionals that stick to their crafts and that's it. For me, it's just experimenting with different things that make me happy and being the hooligan while relentlessly being myself and encouraging others to do the same.
Yeah, you trademarked that, and I want you to expand on that too when we get into it, to a little bit more about exactly defining what a hooligan really means for you, brother. So, and thank you again, man, for introducing yourself and for being here with us. Next up on our panel discussion of artists, we have Miss Priscilla Phifer. Ms. Phifer, if you would do the same and just introduce yourself to the community watching and let people that do not have the pleasure of knowing who you are or being familiar with your practice, let them know who you are and what you have going on.
Okay, yes. My name is Priscilla Phifer, as you said, and for the most of my adult life, I've been involved in community service projects and community service organizations such as sororities, foundations. And so when I became an artist 8 years ago, I still wanted to be connected with these organizations and because they represent what I believe in and what I believe the community needs, such as cultural, cultural activities, scholarship activities, economic development. So when I had the opportunity to work with these organizations, the area specifically I was involved in lately, I've been involved in lately, is the arts. So there are opportunities for artists to exhibit their work, while at the same time helping these organizations raise dollars. And so the way we do that is we plan auctions. Some of them are juried, some of them are curated, but we invite artists in to show their work and then to put it up in an auction. And for the most part, the artists get, they're paid a commission, usually about 70%, and the organization gets about 30%. So this seems to be something that artists I work with look forward to doing. We've got, there's some of them that are coming up soon. One is the National Congress of the Artists, which is July 22nd. Another one is the Torture Wisdom Foundation, which is coming up. And that's with the Breakfast Club, the Detroit Fine Arts Breakfast Club and the Torture Wisdom Foundation have a partnership in that. So that auction is coming up in October. There's also another one in October, and that's Matrix. So it's an opportunity not only to for the artists to put some money in their pockets, but it's an opportunity for artists to give back by helping these organizations raise funds to help their respective communities. And basically my art, I'm an abstract expressionist. I am known as a painter who paints primarily without a brush. I scrape, I scratch, drip, and drag. And my topics or my themes are often about socio-political issues, the condition, the human condition. And then there are a lot of them are just happy things, just colorful and happy things and with no particular theme. It's just something visually beautiful and just fun to do. So that's basically it about me.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself and talking a little bit about not only your practice as an artist, but what it is you're tied to doing in the community. I think all three of you guys kind of touched on some interesting things, which is not only are you guys visual artists, practicing artists, but you guys also are critical and crucial parts to the overall creative experience and creating this safe place and this ecosystem that's more equitable for persons of color to actually create and to thrive in. So for one, I want to commend you guys for doing that. And one of the things we'll talk about today is how what you guys are doing as visual artists is helping reshape and redefine philanthropy as a whole. And usually when you think about philanthropy and the definition of that, traditionally speaking, and even by definition, it says the desire to promote the welfare of others expressed especially by the generous donations of money. When you look up other definitions of philanthropy that are a little bit more abstract than that, they do go into how giving back and anything that's the benefit of a community that you're looking to help is in itself philanthropic. And I think you guys have the unique space as artists who oftentimes need to be on the receiving end of something philanthropic, choosing to actually give your time, energy, effort, and your creative talents to the communities around you. And not only creating visibility for those that look like you to feel comfortable in practicing what they do, but actually creating the space, whether that be through your auctions, Priscilla, Tony, through your cohort down on Island View, or India in Fluid Spaces, specifically creating spaces for people that look like us to be able to create. And so I want to commend all three of you guys for not only being extremely talented visual artists, but being pillars in our community and helping uplift those around you that are trying to get to where you guys ultimately are. And just to kind of piggyback on some of the conversation we were starting to have, we talked about trying to make spaces more equitable for those that look like us. And in how you guys have been able to navigate in or outside of institutions, whether or not you guys utilize or lean on institutions to help promote your work, or how have you guys successfully been able to navigate around having to use an institution to promote your creativity and to get traction? Because all three of you guys are notable artists now within the city of Detroit and well beyond the borders of Michigan. So how you guys uniquely were able to navigate that space without having to lean so heavily on traditional institutions. And Indy, if you want to kind of shoot at that.
Yeah, I can take a shot at that. So I think, and that's a really good question, because I think as artists, we're always in this middle ground as artists and independent business owners too, that part. Like, we are creators, but now we have to be business minded, and like those are the two opposite halves of the brain, but like, they come together in a lot of ways. In that sense, it's like you want to be you want to preserve the energy that you've cultivated around your art and your creative practice, but as a business person, you need to negotiate contracts. You need that visibility. There are good business decisions that may conflict with the art. And so the decision that we end up making is kind of like that middle ground of like, okay, how do I maintain control over the way that my work is displayed, the way that it's consumed? And also, like, there's so much vulnerability that goes into even showing it, So the fact that, like, for me, I'm like, it's crazy to say this, but I want all of my pieces. There are times where I'm like, I don't want to sell any of this. I have enough walls. Like, I want these pieces to be on the walls. And then it's like, well, no, India, you can't be a working artist and not sell art. So for me, it's just about first being really firm in your boundaries. I think like before any institutional partnerships, I took a lot of time with just myself and my practice.
Mhm.
And there wasn't any intentional mapping of like, oh, okay, I want to be here in 2 years, or I want my work to do this. But it's like, if I'm giving myself and my work the best energy internally, the right opportunities will come my way. And there's a lot of like intuition that goes into feeling out what's what, right? Like I was just surprised by when I first released my art on the scene. It was like everybody wanted me in the store, everybody wanted to do a show, everybody wanted to do a collab. And as a young artist, it's very easy to be flattered by that. And I was for a period, but you notice when your energy is being sucked. You notice when people will see an inkling of magic in you that you maybe have not seen yet. And you're kind of building up to and figuring out how you want to treat that magic, how you want to show that to the world, but people will see it before you see that. So for me, it's just been just a lot of discernment. So I've done, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stop there. Do you want me to go into detail about any specific partnerships that you know?
Absolutely. That's perfectly fine, because I think that also helps those that look like you that have not been able to navigate that space. Similar to what Tony and I were talking about a second ago, you get inundated, or what you just talked about. People see that spark of talent in you. And unfortunately, if you haven't had the opportunity to navigate that space already, you can be overwhelmed by so many different things and people coming at you. And then you lose sight of your practice as a whole, or as an artist. And it sounds like you've been able to stay true to who you are and organically practice, which has allowed you to display a certain level of authenticity with your work that is unique to what it is that you do, and people end up resonating with because of the authenticity.
Mhm, mhm.
That isn't actually the easiest thing for people of color, especially in the creative world, to be able to do, because we oftentimes get so excited with notoriety that we jump into the first contract, or that like, oh man, let me sign here because now a gallery wants to represent me, even if it's not the most positive representation of your work.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
if you do have specific examples, you're more than welcome to provide.
Well, I think just the last kind of like reality that I'll share about having to navigate that space is like, because I have this very sensitive relationship with my work. And again, it depends on your relationship with your work. There are some artists who are like, no, I want to fully commercialize my work. Like I want, like there's a desire for that. But because it's so personal to me and like I really feel it when my work is being exploited, I have other streams of income. And I think all of us may have other streams of income outside of the work. And I think the biggest misconception, because the art is most visible, I'm not going to post a research paper. I mean, maybe
Right.
I can, but like, it's not pretty. It's not cute. The other work is not pretty and cute. And so people only see the art. And so they think that I'm like, I've got this huge enterprise that is solely based on me painting. But my art is the way it is. And I've reached this level of authenticity by exploring every single piece of myself and really being like, what is it that I have to offer to the world, and how do I package this in ways that I can sustain myself and maintain myself? So I'm a researcher. I do social media for some people. I do, small scale design, like graphic design projects. Like there are ways to piece together your income as you are growing the art practice that people don't see, and they don't focus on it. And it can get really like, you can get discouraged by just like, if you're trying to flip a piece of art every day, you can
Right.
get really discouraged. So like, yeah, to preserve that, focus on other things.
Yeah, and so to piggyback on that, Tony and I were talking earlier about his background and how his background has allowed him and enabled him to move through the art world and the creative space in a unique way, similar to yours, right? You started out as building communities. I think your background is with finances and urban planning, if I'm not wrong. So you kind of already give back to the community through being a little bit more intentional with your practice, what it is that you're conveying through your work, and being vulnerable. That in itself is a giving practice. Being vulnerable and painting your emotions, or painting with your heart on your sleeve, so to speak. That's why you're so connected with your work. And if Tony doesn't mind, since we talked about your background as a graphic designer and how that has allowed you to kind of navigate that space as well, if you could tell us a little bit about your background and how it is you got into the arts, and oftentimes what you do, giving back to the community, right? You beautify spaces oftentimes through your murals, which a lot of people may have seen your work and didn't even know it was a Tony Whlgn project. And then we can kind of talk about what your name overall means and what is the definition of hooligan and how you redefine that and what that means to the community around you.
Well, I think as a fine artist and as a muralist, my work is deeply rooted in the exploration of themes that resonate in Black philanthropy. Through my art, I work to shed light on social issues and celebrate Black community and culture and resilience and non-conforming in a very organic way. Through that, I believe I can say I got into this practice at a very young age that has allotted me a lot of experiences to understand that a lot of it is just rooted in collaboration and community engagement. With that, at a young age, collaboration starts off with people asking you to do things for them. So you start to work to find that middle ground. Hey, I need a tattoo. Okay, well, let me find out what could work on your body for the rest of your life. You feel me? And through that, it starts to feel like a service. So then you find a way to turn that service into a business. And through that business, you start to gain different clients and supporters, and it grows your network. I could say that through being a graphic designer, which is something that I didn't intend on pursuing. It essentially found me in high school, where a lot of the visual artists kind of got over flooded, and then we got dropped into computer science class. And there we had programs at our hands and disposals to kind of figure out and work things. For me personally, graphic design turned into something that could generate income for me as an artist at a faster rate than selling my art or doing an exhibition or planning for a show or creating a collection or a body of work that personally to me wouldn't feel perfect. Now, I know a lot of people may go to say, nothing is perfect or there's no real sense of perfection, but personally, I felt like my guidelines on what perfection looks like for me and my artwork has helped to guide me in a career that has not only allowed me to understand where my rights lie as an artist, but where others' rights lie as artists, to the point where if one of my friends has a contract with an institution or a corporation that deemingly wants to use their artwork for their own personal manipulative reasons, without my friend knowing the legal jargon to protect themselves, they might bring it to my attention to where, I might skim it and, give them some pointers or some insight on just things that they personally might want to protect, just being an artist. Like, all right, well, if it's saying that you can't reproduce this artwork at all, then you might need to understand your copyrights and how it looks, where if you might just reserve your rights or give limited licenses for things, and you can do other things with your artwork. But a lot of that comes with experience. A lot of that comes with trial and error. And for that trial and error has allowed me to carefully approach my art career with the network from my design career that has allowed me, I would say, a position to not only create space for myself as an artist, but create space for others as artists. And with that collaboration and social engagement when it comes to working with institutions, usually if it does, the purpose isn't rooted in some sort of social engagement or give back essence, we aren't really into doing it. And that goes to say from local businesses and small businesses to the corporations that come in with the big bucks and things of that nature, thinking that, $1 will turn your opinion, or, just because I put a couple of zeros right here that you'll do it. And for the most part, for a lot of artists, money isn't the factor that drives the art. It supports the art, and yes, we utilize it as a tool. But once you realize that it's a tool to create with, just like another paintbrush or some ink or, you know, some acrylics or oils and things of that nature, then you just apply it in a strategic manner to allow yourself sustainability as an artist. And I think overall, goal wise, my purpose has always been to create sustainability with my practice. So that way I can do it forever without the sense of feeling like I am a struggling artist.
Right. Right. Which is a unique thing to do, to create longevity for an artist, right? Someone who's a living artist, to actually have longevity. Um, and we talked about kind of you defining for us what Whlgn is. It's the trademark that you have kind of behind you in your studio. And there it is, y'all, for those that don't know. If you've ever seen that, that's Tony and that's Whlgn. If you want to kind of give us some insight into like where that came from and what that means for you and your practice too, real quick.
So the journey of Whlgn essentially started in 2009, where me and a group of my friends had an idea of creating a streetwear brand, where streetwear brands at that time for us was a hot thing. We wanted our group name on a t-shirt and we wanted to sell it to people and make a lot of money. Being artists or being creators, we didn't understand the legalities behind forming a business or entity, which would be an LLC. We didn't understand the importance of having capital to fund the operation, buy the t-shirts, order the screens and screen prints and things of that nature. So at that point, it kind of halted and came to not a standstill for the clothing, but more or less evolved into a mindset, a group mindset, a community mindset, a mindset that purely focused on relentlessly being ourselves, which for myself personally is not conforming, social impact, an entrepreneurial journey, working with the youth, making sure we fill these generational gaps, creating space and things of that nature, which over turn created core values that help with our alignment as a group over the years, which then I would say after the pandemic allowed us to turn and focus on not only the foundation that we built for Whlgn, but understand what it is that we are and have being built, essentially, because like you said, there's a lot of people that have heard the name, seen the name, but it may not correlate direct with my work personally. It may directly work with some of my friends that have done work out here and are doing work out here. And even with the note of that and growing into a mindset, I've also learned that sometimes group things don't always last forever. And sometimes people outgrow each other. So with Whlgn, building a foundation and making sure that it's not only a brand that represents social impact and changing in Detroit, but making sure it's a foundation that can support generations after we're gone. And not only support what we're doing now, but artists of the future, artists for our children's generations, artists for their children's generations, and think more of like a Carhartt, where it's 100-year-old family-owned brand.
Right.
Simply put, that over 100 years went through resilience to understand its core values and relations to the market that it's in and the industries that it works with. And then just kind of simply stripping all of that back and then looking at Whlgn and understand its engagement with the community and its involvement with creating space and its involvement with reserving rights for artists, and then understanding how to strategically plan that with our own capital.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you expanding on that. And you kind of talked about your social engagement, which all three of you guys are highly touted with your social engagement, not just because people see your artwork, but because you guys are actually tied to the street, so to speak, because of your groundwork and being tied to the community. Priscilla, I can speak to the fact that we've interacted on several things and several entities. And from the institution side of things, you've had the unique ability of navigating these otherwise very sought after institutions that may not necessarily look like us, but you've created space and visibility and equity in those spaces while at the same time being unapologetically you as an artist. If you can kind of expand on or speak to how you've been able to successfully navigate these otherwise exclusive institutions, while at the same time not having to trade off, your identity or switch up your practice or who you are and how you are. That's not the easiest thing for most emerging artists.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I was a collector. I am a collector. My husband and I are collectors. I was a collector.
I see.
Before I even thought about becoming an artist. And I call my art practice accidental, because at the time I was 70 years old, and my family at the time said, I bet you can take your decoupage skills, which I was doing. I was doing decoupage, teaching decoupage at places where people had dementia, at camps,
Wow.
After school programs. So anyway, it was a challenge. See if you could take those decoupage skills, transfer them onto a canvas. So they found me a class at the Birmingham Bloomfield Art Center. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never painted. I had never drawn. I had only taken one art class, and that was the intro to art in college years and years and years ago. So anyway, the challenge was, after I finished these classes at BBAC, was they were going to throw me a birthday party / my first solo show. So the challenge was to do 30 paintings. So I said, okay, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. And so, thinking that it was just going to be mostly a birthday party, I had no idea that people were going to buy my art. So I came very unprepared. Only thing my family did regarding that first solo show was to do a price sheet in the event my art sold. So I had 30 paintings, 26 of them sold. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to write these paintings, these orders up? I had nothing. I had no price sheet, not even a smartphone. So my son saved the day and processed every single one. Okay, so that was the first show. Then I had a second and a third one, which had similar results. But I was thinking that the first one, people just wanted me to have an extra special birthday party. So that's why so many of them sold. So the second one, similar. Third one, same thing. So in the process of having these solo shows, I also ended up doing exhibits. Whenever I would do an exhibit and sell anything, whether it be a solo show or at a group exhibit, I always gave a portion of that back to someone, usually to an artist. I would buy art from a local artist. That's what I've been doing ever since 2015. My house is filled with a whole bunch of art by local artists. So that's how I give back philanthropically to local artists, one way anyway. But I also tried to bring them into these institutions that you're talking about, such as the Torch of Wisdom Foundation. I used to be a board member, and one of their thrusts is cultural arts. And so the Detroit Fine Arts Breakfast Club and we call it, I co-founded that art exhibit. It's called the Art Extravaganza, to bring in artists so that they can exhibit, sell their works. And during the pandemic, because of the pandemic, we did the exhibits and the auctions on Zoom, which widened their base. People around the world saw the art. Something's popping up on my machine. What in the world is that?
At least it didn't affect us seeing you, though.
It didn't affect you. So anyway, artists were drawn in, and they were all excited about selling their art, getting paid after the auction. So that was one avenue where, I thought it was really important to bring our artists in, to give them more exposure outside of the areas that they were accustomed to, the really safe, comfortable areas. And then there's another organization. Now this is, initially I was involved in an organization, well, I still am, Matrix. Matrix is about taking care of the total person. It's a very, very, very good organization. And they have an annual art auction as well. Now, this one is different from the Torch of Wisdoms in that the artists just make an outright donation so that the organization gets all the money to do, more and more good works. Initially, there was pushback by the artists who said, oh, I'm not going to donate anything to an organization where I don't get paid. I don't see the benefit. Well, the first year, not too many of them donated, but now they see the benefit because doing that, it puts their product or their art in the eyes, in front of the eyes of new collectors. So they love it. So now they look forward to something where they don't get money back, and it's rewarding. They tell me it's very rewarding to know that their work has helped these organizations raise funds to improve the community. So another part of your question was, what, Dave, how, there was something else.
Well, I think you pretty much expanded on what it was that I was looking for. I think you kind of tied in the opposite side of the spectrum of what we've been talking about. What's unique about the spaces that they've created is those spaces were needed because we otherwise didn't have access to the spaces that you're referring to. And I think
Right.
your role is pivotal and is critical because on the other side of that, as a fine artist and as a visual artist, we still oftentimes don't have access to the fine art collectors, let's just say, or to entities and organizations like Matrix that can create visibility with a different group, a different set of eyes that can create the sustainability that someone like Tony talked about for an artist's career. And it allows them to get that unique visibility that's imperative to create that type of trajectory for those type of artists that are looking for that otherwise would be railroaded, or they would be met with gatekeepers that would prevent them from having access.
Right. And another thing, on a one-on-one and sometimes in a group setting, one of the things I tell artists is that their practice should not be solely about themselves. A lot of artists do think that it's all about themselves. They'll ask me often, will you buy my work, buy my work, buy my work, buy my work? I need money, buy my work. And so I have to, remind them, you know what? I'm an artist too. You can buy my work as well.
That's true.
Right. So I know some are not, in the position to do that. It just so happened that I like their work. I also like helping people. And I also belong to an organization. I won't say who these artists or artist is. We go out, some of the organizations I belong to, we'll go outside of the art aspect and look at the human person, the person who's in need. So out of the goodness of one of the organization's hearts, we identify one or two people who needed some money and donated some money to this person. This person was just overwhelmed, could not believe that these people who did not know him or her gave them this kind of money and other things to relaunch himself or to, get out there and do some exhibiting.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could say this man's name, but I won't. But he is doing so well. He was down in the doldrums. He was living in a place that was cold. He had been ill and everything. So just a little bit of attention and money that this organization gave him, lifted him up to the point where he is on this path of greatness. So we always feel individually and collectively, we feel very good when we help these artists get on their feet and stay on their feet while we're helping ourselves.
Right, at the same time. Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I think Detroit has a beautiful community and network of artists, whether it be the traditional starving artists or those that have been more self-sufficient than others. And I think the support amongst one another And I think while at the same time, the individuality of each artist is a beautiful thing. And I love the fact that TSOP has given us the opportunity to highlight you three in particular because uh, um, of your work and your ties in the community and how you're approaching your artistic practices. It's well beyond just the visual arts, but instead it's with the relationships that you guys have forged with the communities that you guys are actually from and that look like you, which is the reason why you've had sustainable success. It's the reason why it's your grassroots endeavors and experiences that has allowed you guys to navigate this space in such a unique way and have so many people attracted to you. It's almost magnetic, and there's nothing but success attached to you guys' name, I think, because of that. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to highlight what you guys are doing. I think oftentimes we had this conversation and we get caught up on how you guys are giving back through your practices, through your creative geniuses, through your time, energy, effort, and money. But we also need to talk about what it is that we can do to continue to support artists like you guys and business owners like you guys so that we can continue to have pillars of our community like you guys practicing and giving us access to spaces we otherwise wouldn't have. So I think before we go into maybe a Q&A session, if there's anybody online that'd like to ask you guys personal questions about your practices or what you have in the pipeline, I think each of you guys should take a few minutes just to talk about what it is that we can do to support what you guys have coming up or what you currently have going on, whether that be accessing your websites or talking about upcoming events or projects where we can find you guys or collaborate with something, or how we can kind of help, what you guys are continuing to do in the community. So India, if you want to kind of start with what you got going on and how we can find you and support what you got going on.
Um, yeah, honestly, I appreciate the offer, but I'm like real incubative right now.
Yeah,
I'm
I bet. I
real, like,
bet. I
so-
bet.
I'm real like feeling very taken care of. And of course, more is more. But right, I want to go back to the point about relationships. All of this work is relational. And when we get into like, how do I support? How do I tap in? I think really focusing on what it means to build genuine relationships. And then even just going back to advice for up and coming artists, like to Priscilla's point with this person, like, buy my art, can you buy my art? Can you buy my art? I don't know if y'all had a relationship already, but that often comes across my desk. And or even if someone is like, oh, let's collab, let's meet next week.
Right.
It's so visible, and like we show up in spaces and offer up these spaces so that organic connections can happen, so that you can run into me, you can talk to me a little bit. A lot of people kind of like may talk to me and see me and think that's the last time ever. And so like, there's so much of like, what are you doing? What are you working on? How did you do this?
Yeah, it's like, hold on, slow down.
Yeah, it's like slow down. And like, I think I really look at everything as a romantic relationship. I'm a lover girl, but I think it's very important to kind of like get out of this kind of networking and like business type mindset, especially when it comes to art, and lean more into the softer side of like, what do I feel drawn to? Who do I really relate with? Not not like who do I want to be as popular as? Because I think that's different than like getting to know someone as a person and wanting to know someone as a person. So I think if we can get back to kind of that essence when we're talking about art and we're talking about the transaction side of things, because like Tony was saying earlier in the call, oftentimes like the people who end up with our work are people that we know, or people that we love
personally. Right.
Yeah, they become drawn to our work because they love us. And it's why, like me personally, it's why I show up the way that I do online and just whatever, really do show up as myself, so that even if we aren't face to face, you have an opportunity to get to know me as a person. And I think that's really the biggest thing that we give as an artist is ourselves, is our full story. Because like the full story is way more important than the product. It gets people closer to like looking at the sequence of events in their lives and how that sequence leads up to who they are. So it's like, we talk so much about the process and what we do, because there is no one process, there is no one line. And everybody has this kind of magical combination of things. Like being an artist is not just about painting, it's about doing all of the things that you are here to do, and not having this 9 to 5, not having this kind of like linear version of how you're supposed to move through life, but exploring all of it. So yeah, you could support by like looking at all the stuff I have out there, like please.
But you know, another thing that I do, and also because I believe in mentoring other people who are not as seasoned as I am, you know, I tell them, why don't you invite people into your studio or your home? Not too long ago, maybe about 3 years ago, I had at my home, it was called a collector's soiree. And I invited these collectors in, fed them. We had a wonderful time. We not only talked about art, we just talked about community. We just talked about everything, but it was really centered around art initially. And, you know, that's how you continue or forge relationships. Some artists do not understand the importance of inviting people or potential collectors to your home or to your studio. Whenever I do that, it always, not that I'm looking to sell my art, but it just turns out I sell my art that way. I don't do this every month. I do this periodically, but when I do invite them in, you know, something good happens. You know, sometimes they may not buy right then and there, but they'll buy, you know, later. And I like what David Mays does. He brings people to my studio every now and then, and it's always a good result, good relationship. And now he goes from artist to artist, and he does salon shows. I do salon shows. And I think one reason why some people are confused as to what I am or what I do, because I help other artists. And a lot of people say, that is not normal. We've given salon shows I do a salon show with a collector. She's not an artist. But when we do these salon shows, you know, it is so rewarding. It's so much fun. It gives those artists additional exposure that they might not ordinarily have. And so in my case, as in terms of what people can do for me, they just show up. You know, if they can just show up every now and then, buy my art every now and then, join me on one of my projects, whether it's about art or something indirectly related to art. Like not too long ago, we went to a condo building, and one of the organizations I belong to had an art crawl. And so people were able to see other collectors' artworks. They were inspired by the building, the architecture, by these artists' collections, by the artists who participated. I want my art practice to be fun. I don't want it to be, I don't want to feel like it's a job or it's hard work. So it's just, mine just a fun type art practice. And I think it's fun because number one, like I said, I'm blessed to have such a great practice and sales and all that, but I did not go into art to be, as a competition. I went into art because I wanted something to do, and it was a challenge, and it gave me something to do. It just so happened that I'm very good at it, and I love what I do. So I want other artists to not always think about the money aspect, but also think about the community component, helping other artists, even though they might not be where they think they are now. Occasionally, they can support somebody else too. And they'll see that the rewards are great, because what goes around comes around, right?
Sure.
So I'm just blessed. I continue to help artists. I even help launch them, give them a platform. I invite artists even when I didn't know I was going to be an artist to my home. And then other people who were invited, they picked them up and took them on their little journey with them, and they're doing quite well. So, it pays to help others. It does not hurt the artist, him or herself. Some people think that if you help another artist, it's going to take away from you. No, it won't. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, one of my best collectors lives on the West Coast. Well, one lives on the East Coast and a couple live on the West Coast. They found me on Facebook. And we know one of the things that they said, they saw that I was helping these other artists, and that was very appealing to them. Plus, they liked my art. So just get out there. You know, you never know where your art journey is going to end up. But my thing is, in the process, make it fun. Make it fun, and all along the way, help someone else.
Yeah, to both of you guys' points, making the interactions a little less transactional and making them organic and authentic is a key component to what you guys have been doing and being tied to the community. I can speak to that from interacting with you three on individual and collective basis. That you guys have always been authentic to yourselves, which I appreciate. And as a result, the interactions with those around you have always been organic and authentic. And I hope that in your practice, you continue to be able to pour into people and encourage them to practice authenticity themselves, whether it be through collecting, through supporting, through advocacy, through community, or just through support. Tony, you know, before we open up things to Q&A, I don't know if there was something that you wanted to highlight in terms of something you have coming up, or similar to what Priscilla and India got into, just what it is that we can do to continue to help you with your practice and what you're doing with the community. Or just what you got going on, what we can like come support, come show up, just be visible.
So most recently, I just installed a mural inside of the Somerset location, Neiman Marcus.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it. That is a part of Neiman Marcus's permanent art collection, as well as a wall installed of a few pieces in the gallery section on that wall and a window display that we installed. Currently, we got coming up a couple of festivals. Shout out to India. We in the Ferndale Mural Festival. I don't know if she wanted to announce that, but
right, too late now, baby. We there now.
We got that coming up, so I've been prepping for that, as well as
when is that, by the way? That you and India are a part of it or involved?
I don't even know if it's been announced yet.
Okay.
But you know, you'll be
we'll look out for that though.
You feel me? I really think, you know, a lot of being able to support us as artists is being able to support us on our platforms that we're most active on.
Right.
For me personally, it's Instagram, probably because it's visual. I'm not big on TikTok or Twitter and stuff like that. So if you want to reach out to me, I'm there, and I'm always in my email. But for the most,
you guys are welcome to make sure you shout out your socials then while we're here, if you guys want to.
100%.
Okay, put it in the chat, then that's even better too.
For the most part, I'm going to their events. I've definitely been to the Breakfast Club, and I've definitely supported India at her Fluid Spaces events. And it's just really just being in a community at the end of the day. Like you said, not less transactional and more relationship built. We're very organic people, and we're very vulnerable people. So we pride our piece on being reserved for moderation, to say the least. So we try to limit our interactions, if not put ourselves, like India said, in the places where people can interact with us the most. But usually those aren't the places that have the longest of conversations. But if you come, have that introduction, and then organically build that relationship, I feel like, you know, you can help support not only that artist, but the next artist. Because once I gain a collector, I'm going to definitely show them the artwork that I've been collecting from the homies. So that way they gain a more understanding and interest of what's out here, not only in Detroit, but globally, because I got a couple places.
Yeah, we need to continue to build those connections, man. And that's why I said I thank all three of you guys for using your platforms to create space for other people instead of being a gatekeeper. And at the same time, even doing things like this, taking your time out. You know, you guys are all three very busy artists, and to take time out on a Sunday to allow us and TSOP to have people access you guys, which maybe some people know, but most may not know, like how intimate of a thing this is to be able to have interactions with, have conversations with an artist, especially one that has, you know, admittedly like an upward trajectory, or someone that normally is not as accessible as you three are. So, you know, I want to thank TSOP for being able to give and provide us a platform to have conversations with you three. I'm gonna jump into the chat, I guess, and kind of see if there's any Q&As for you guys individually or for us collectively, or anything you guys want to ask the artist, I can kind of jump in here and see. Yeah, thank you guys for including. And for those that don't know, both Tony and India have provided their socials and their information, their websites, links into the webinar chat. So make sure that those involved and the participants check out their information so that you guys can continue to follow them and follow their projects, follow their events and things that they'll be tied to coming up in the future. If anybody from, let me see, if anybody from TSOP would like to kind of chime in and talk about TSOP and what the entity is, or what the organization is, and what you guys are here highlighting and allowing us to have events like this, you guys are welcome to do so as well. It's about a quarter after, so I know we're gonna wrap up here in the next like few minutes. So while, if anybody does have any questions, they're typing in the chat. I guess I'm gonna turn it back over to either Kia or Colin, and you guys can kind of chime in and speak on behalf of TSOP.
Hey, I'm just gonna quickly say this was an amazing conversation. What a privilege to be here with you all, India, Tony, Priscilla. You all are fabulous philanthropists. I will just say, you all definitely took this conversation from us thinking about, okay, how is art philanthropy, but then also talking about how you all are philanthropic in your own ways, how just kind of the full circle. And I think, you know, our creativity makes us feel good. I think that seed that you all plant, the inspiration that you all plant, is just what I've learned today is just a tip of your philanthropy, just a tip of the iceberg. So thank you all so much. Congratulations on all of your success. We can't wait to join you and all the things that you promoted, and please continue to share things out with us. I will let Colin hop in and kind of wrap us up for to say what's next with TSOP Michigan, but also want to thank you, David. You were a fabulous moderator. Your questions were good and thoughtful, and you really got into allowed us to get to know each of these artists more. So with that, I want to thank everyone here for joining us. I think Colin will hop on and say a few words, but if not, I will let you all, maybe each artist, to say kind of some final words. I've got some notes over here, and I will be doing a follow-up post. So if there's anything, just to kind of sum up the conversation, if we want to kind of go around and say some final words, and maybe let's go Priscilla, Tony, India, and then David, and then we can wrap it up from there.
Okay.
Okay, you want a word from me?
Yes, please.
Oh, can I I'd like to give a shout out to, she's not a visual artist, but someone who did my website. My website is up. Unfortunately, my name has been taken after all these years. My name, Priscilla Phifer, taken. So I think I just want to give her a shout out, Melanie Summers, for having the patience to work with me on my website. And I think the website name is phiferpa.com, something like, I'll get it out, but I don't know the name.
I'm gonna check for you, Priscilla, and then if I can verify what it is, I'll put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, I think it's phiferpa.art.com. I think that's what it is. I just got it yesterday. It was official yesterday, so I've got to still work on it, but I just want to give her a shout out. Okay. She's also an excellent artist. By the way, she is a visual artist. What am I talking about? She's a graphic artist. She does websites, and she's just patient, and I love her to death. And it's also been, I've enjoyed hearing everybody's versions of philanthropy. We're all philanthropists. You know, there was a time when I did not want to embrace that word early on, like even 4 years ago, because, you know, it was put out there on Facebook that I was a philanthropist. And I said, oh, no. Because, you know, most people think of philanthropy in terms of money. And people start asking me for money. And I did not like that. But now You know, I know that philanthropy is about time, talent, and treasure. And I accept that.
And thank you for continuing to donate and to give your time, energy, effort, and creative abilities to those around you. That
Thank you.
oftentimes is just as draining and taxing as money. Sometimes it's like, man, I'd rather throw a few dollars at something than give you my time and access. So I thank you for that.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on this show.
Of course. Tony, any like last words or anything you want to leave some of our TSOP participants and followers with?
I'd like to thank the TSOP participants for their time in joining us. And I'd like to thank the artists for their time for
Sure.
speaking on the back. And you guys.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I link with y'all, man, too, after this too. I'm just as excited as everybody else involved. I'm like, hey man, I gotta get over to Island View, bro. So
Yeah, the dice rolling. The dice rolling. We
all right, man.
definitely gotta hope to foster a stronger community around the Black arts.
Absolutely.
I feel like together we can amplify marginalized voices as well as the community, and contribute more to an equitable society overall.
Absolutely, brother. I look forward to it. India.
Yes, I'm super excited to keep connecting with you all. Tony, we locked in, but David and Priscilla, I just think I see so
Some new
much.
connections.
Yeah, like there's so much ahead for all of us. And like I just feel like I didn't even get into my
I
background
know.
planning and grant making and managing grant funds and federal funds, and then how that translated to like, me just being an advocate for money going to the right place.
Yeah.
And an advocate for abundance and the fact that everything we need is there. So this work of connecting is really like this divine work of maximizing the impact of what is there. I think is very easy to get caught up in, we say it all the time, the scarcity mindset, like, and feeling like certain things are out of reach. And so I think all of us making our practices, our thought processes, our like just everything within reach for people, that goes a long way. Like so many people, the amount of people who are just like, you know what, India, you inspired me to just be more free. Sometimes it's not even you inspired me to be an artist. It's like you inspired me to be more free, or you inspired me to get to know myself more.
Right.
And that's what it is. Like I'm an artist, yes, but I'm not an artist. I'm fully India Solomon. And I'm grateful to be that. And I'm grateful to be able to share that on this platform.
Grateful for you being willing to do so and sharing some of the most intimate parts of yourself as an artist with us. And like you said, there's so much more to delve into and to get to know you as a person and as a whole. I know we barely scratched the surface, but I'm definitely excited to, on a personal and professional level, to get to know all three of you guys more intimately and see what we can do to continue to build out our community, man, and make it stronger. So I appreciate all three of you guys for being here and for participating.
Yes, and I want to say once again to echo Mr. Mays, thank everybody for participating as part of our second series on Black artists and philanthropy, and also want to give special thanks and appreciation to Mr. David Mays for moderating today. Did an outstanding job, and this is a conversation that we want to continue to have. So as we continue to change the narrative of what philanthropy means, and also to recognize our next event, which will also be virtual on Thursday, July the 6th. This upcoming Thursday, it's going to be, the conversation is yours in service. So dedicating time to local Black nonprofit leaders from all different spectrums that have the opportunity to share their thoughts and opinions on what philanthropy means, both from a foundation standpoint and then community standpoint. So but once again, thank you to everybody, Tony, India, Priscilla, and David. Really appreciate the conversation that we've had today.
Thank you.
I did too, man. Thank you guys for spending your Sundays with us. Again, participants, check out their info in the chat. Everybody's socials are there. You guys can access all the artists and connect with them via the info in the chat.
Trying to be at a beach like Colin.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
I know, right?
Hey, bye, y'all.
All right,
Bye-bye.
man. Love y'all, man. Take care.